One Zambia, one nation. Thank you so much for joining us on the news desk. We are coming to you from the Mass Media Complex in Lusaka. Here now are the top stories. Preparations for Kenneth Kaunda centenary celebrations advance. Northern Province Permanent Secretary Bernard Mpundu has instructed district commissioners to secure maize grain. 550 Kalomo girls receive sanitary towels. And secretaries celebrate their day. With the news in detail, my name is Amos Zulu, and on sign language is Neham Mumbi. Here now is the news in detail. Preparations for the centenary celebrations to mark the birthday of first president of Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda, to take place in Chinsali on April 28, 2024 have progressed. A check by ZANIS found the organizers making final touches at the venue where President Hakainde Hichilema is expected to be guest of honor at the celebrations. Mwangala Kapandula brings us more in this report.
Zambia tomorrow, April 28, 2024, celebrates 100 years of the birth of a son of the soil, first president of Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda. Born in Luwa Mission in Chinsali district, the late President Kenneth Kaunda will not only be remembered as the founding father, but also an educationalist, a politician, and a family man.
This place, the Luwa Mission, where Kaunda was born, is a key place in the history of Zambia. This place has contributed immensely to the memories and the shaping of values of a number of political leaders in the country. Kaunda, who was born in this place, had particular values. And those values, for us to appreciate them, we have to trace back where he came from. What made him to be a person who has values of humanity, values for peace, values to engage in liberation struggle, to ensure that people are free and have got they can make choices on how their lives can develop.
The records are there. We have a baptism record book which comes as far as 1907, when the first born elder sister to Dr. Keke was born, Waketi. She was the first one to be recorded in the same baptism record book. And the last one to be recorded for the Kaunda family is David Kaunda. Kenneth Kaunda was the last one, that is 1928. Then just some few days later, on the 11th of May, he was baptized by Reverend McMean, who was a missionary, who was here as a white missionary.
Preparations to mark the centenary celebrations scheduled to take place in Chinsali have progressed well. A check by a ZANIS crew found the organizers making final touches at the venue. According to a program made available to ZANIS, President Hakainde Hichilema is expected to be guest of honor at the celebrations. For ZANIS News, Mwangala Kapandula, reporting in Chinsali, Muchinga Province.
Meanwhile, a historian in Chinsali district has described the late first president, Kenneth Kaunda, as an influential leader in the liberation struggle. Speaking during an interactive forum with students from Kapasa Makasa University on the life of Dr. Kaunda, Michael Kamambi has stated that the influence that the late president had during the liberation movement motivated others to unite towards achieving the country's freedom.
Only a few days remaining for the centenary birthday celebration of the late first Republican President, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, various stakeholders have continued to remember his contribution to the liberation of the country. In his birthplace of Chinsali district, students at Kapasa Makasa University were engaged in an interactive forum on the life and legacy of Dr. Kaunda. During the forum, a Chinsali-based historian, Michael Kamambi, shared with the students the positive influence that Dr. Kaunda had with his leadership style.
Several times Kaunda was imprisoned, came back. He continued fighting. And the fighting spirit, his colleagues had been finding him, that this is the person who can take us independence. There were people who felt that he was not doing enough because he was quite soft towards the Europeans, the European settlers. And then Kaunda was identified to be quite, I think he was a staunch.
And among the panelists, Kapasa Makasa University lecturer highlighted the importance of being a good leader.
As we continue celebrating his life, we are trying to pass on to new people so that as we grow, you know that when people do good things, they will remember.
The students also shared some of the most important visionary elements that Dr. Kaunda exhibited.
Dr. Kenneth Kaunda was a man of the vision. His vision is still being implemented till now. He's one that wanted to implement different aspects and help build the country's economy. And these are things we still get to see now because others have run with what he had started.
A tour of the institution's library was also undertaken for a pictorial exhibition. Henry Lompa Jr., ZANIS in Chinsali, Muchinga Province.
In other news, Ministry of Information and Media Permanent Secretary Thabo Kawana has appealed to senior government officials to include their secretaries in their official travel for them to perform their duties as required. Mr. Kawana has stated that officials, especially fellow permanent secretaries, tend to leave their secretaries behind when they travel and states that secretaries' role do not end in the office only. The permanent secretary said these are the secretaries' day in Lusaka in response to Zambia Institute of Secretaries President Christabel Musefwe's concern on the lack of adequate recognition of secretaries in most organizations. And speaking at the same event, motivational speaker John Banda encouraged secretaries to keep improving themselves as some professions like theirs are threatened by advancements in technology. Mr. Banda has urged the secretaries to exhibit professionalism in their appearances and conduct in order to maintain the standards of the profession and represent their organizations as well as points of contact in most organizations. Now, Ministry of Information and Media Director spokesperson Henry Kapata has visited Samfya District to check on how the Constituency Development Fund is being utilized in the district. Here's a report.
Ministry of Information and Media Director spokesperson Henry Kapata is in Samfya District to check on the Constituency Development Fund CDF capital projects in the area. Among the projects he has checked include Bangweulu Nursing School, Police Annex, Chundu Clinic, a 1x3 classroom block, and an ablution block at Changwena Primary School.
We have seen the maternity annex quality, a touch of works by the contractor. We have seen the police post, the provisions of the cells to combat crime and save property in the communities. Quality again. We have seen the desks that have been provided. We know that the demand is quite high because Samfya is growing. But what is interesting is that Samfya has beaten the record of presidential pronouncement that no child shall sit on the floor by 31st December 2023. Samfya is way ahead. Each and every child is sitting on the desks. So meaning that there's massive collaboration with regards to community delivery. There's massive collaboration within the stakeholders to make sure that presidential pronouncements are adhered to.
The local authority and the district commissioner were also part of the directors in tourage.
Okay, less than 10 years ago,
we
had less than 15 health facilities in the district. But as we speak today, we are speaking of more than 32 facilities that we have in the district.
This is what the new donor is working. So for those who are on social media, misleading the country, misleading the community, it's not going to help them because the government has come to work.
Community members are elated with the developments.
ala pali buchushi pano pali finanga mulembo nane ngonto pakwabu kafye mbakwenda fene mumenchi fyo mu ala twali chula ala ngatwalira mwabuteko atiseni mtu afwa muletu afwefi awo chine ni mulebombe chine
Bethsheba Katebe reporting for ZANIS News in Samfya District in Wapla Province.
Northern Province District Commissioners instructed to secure maize grain. These and many other stories still to come after the break.
How I Made It is a program that delves into the many success stories of different people from all walks of life. Watch How I Made It on ZANIS TV every Thursday at 18:30 hours on the Topstar channel, Channel 6 DTT, and Channel 458 DTH. Zambia Today is a program that keeps you informed on various government policies and programs. Join us every Tuesday at 18 hours on ZANIS TV, Topstar Platform, Channel 6 DTT, and 458 DTH. Don't miss.
Thank you so much for still staying with us. You're watching ZANIS News. Northern Province Permanent Secretary Bernard Mpundu has instructed district commissioners in the province to ensure that no maize grain leaves their boundaries without proper documentation. Mr. Mpundu instructed district commissioners to formulate district joint operations committees that will work towards preventing briefcase people from exploiting small-scale farmers. We have more in this report.
Northern is among the few provinces that were not affected by the drought experienced in most parts of the country. The drought, which was declared a national disaster, has severely affected maize production, which is the country's staple food. With this, Northern Province Permanent Secretary Bernard Mpundu, who was in Luingu District, has instructed district commissioners in the province to secure the crops to help the affected provinces.
We are aware that there are private buyers who have already gone round, enticing people to sell the commodity cheaply. We have given an instruction, and we are repeating this instruction here in Luingu. DC, with your DJOC, ensure that no grain leaves Luingu now. We shall ensure that this side also we mount something.
Chomba Chileshe is Luingu District Commissioner.
The country is only depending on the northern part of Zambia, which is the Luapula, northern and Muchinga, where we have received enough rainfall. So my appeal is for FRA to consider opening more satellite depots, not only in Luingu, but in these 3 provinces, so that we mop up all the maize.
Meanwhile, Senior Chieftainess Chungu of Lupososhi District said traditional leaders in the province are equally concerned with reports that private buyers have already invaded the area. The traditional leader said this when the permanent secretary called on her at her palace in Lupososhi District.
Huko twakwete kwishughulia kwata kumpula namba kuba nensikolso kulia mafya kunchende shino kwa kwete kutu ishughulia kwata ulimi obusoma sikafukisha kwa nenso.
Helen Bwalia reporting for ZANIS.
We now give you health news, where the Zambia Medicines and Medical Supplies Agency has intensified the distribution of essential medicines in Northern Province. A check by ZANIS in Mpulungu and Imbala districts has revealed a significant improvement in drug availability. Take a look.
Weed control, crop intensification, soil health, and soil fertility management are some of the pillars conservation farming is premised on. Due to its proven competitive advantage over the traditional farming methods, conservation farming has been recommended in the wake of climate change.
And you see, this year we had prolonged dry spells, and this really affected our crop production. Maize, groundnuts, soybeans, and the like. I would like to encourage farmers to adopt conservation farming methods, like the rip lines you've seen here. This maize was planted in rip lines. These rip lines help to conserve moisture, right? They help to conserve moisture, and so in the wake of a prolonged dry spell, such maize is able to withstand the prolonged dry spell better than the maize that is planted on ridges.
And farmers under the Sustainable Intensification of Smallholder Farming Systems in Zambia, SIFA's program, have commended conservation farming in the wake of the prolonged dry spells.
Ubwino wa ukulu twayambirira ati makolola madzi monga mmene mnonera chaka chino kunali chilala ni mmene muluonera mbewu iyi ikali ya green usonyeza kuti tikalipinga mumalayinzi mucha mumasunga madzi ndipo madzi akasungidwa olokucha chilala cha mtundu wanji mbewu iyi imakhala ilukula ndithu sibwerera mbuyo ayi imakhala ilukira patsogolo ndiye ulimi woyamba wabwino ameneyo. Ulimi wachiwiri ng'onena kuti munda wochepa ngati umene mwaonera nikamutaka kang'ono koma zokolola zake zimakhala zambiri komanso zamtupatupa mene muliwonera muli mbewu zingapo zonsezo tikolola.
Wachitsanzo mvula chaka chino yakutama koma tikaona chimanga ichi chioneka chobilira bwino kutanthauza kuti mnyontho uliyenda bwino ndithu. So tiyeseko kuchitako ulimi watsopano umene umatithandizira kukolola zambiri pamalo pamodzi.
Davison Sakala, ZANIS, Vuba District.
That story from Davison Sakala was on agriculture, where the Ministry of Agriculture in Vubi District has continued to make calls on farmers to adopt conservation farming, particularly in the wake of climate change. District Agricultural Coordinator Philemon Zulu has stated that farmers would benefit during the volatile climate changes if they switch to conservation farming. And now in health news, the Zambia Medicines and Medical Supplies Agency, ZAMSA, has intensified distribution of essential medicines in Northern Province. A check by ZANIS in Mpulungu and Mbala district has revealed a significant improvement in drug availability. Take a look.
Mbala General Hospital and Mpulungu District Health Facility in Northern Province have normalized the issue of drug shortages. Mbala General Hospital was built in 1924 before Zambia got its independence, and drug shortages at this facility was an everyday song, thanks to ZAMSA for stabilizing the situation.
As a hospital, for this year, I've seen a lot of improvement on the medical supply coming from ZAMSA. When we are buying the fluid, it was very, very expensive, one box. And then when we put the cost of the fuel to go and get from Saka, it was very, very tough for us as a hospital management.
This year, we've been receiving stock almost every month, and there's been improvement in the deliveries that are brought. This year, I think we're able to receive more than 60% of what we order from ZAMSA, which hasn't been the case in the previous years.
At nearby Mpulungu District Hospital, medical officer in charge praised ZAMSA for timely distribution of drugs at the health institution.
So far, this year we've seen quite a good number of drugs being brought from ZAMSA, and by this I mean the commonly used drugs in OPD as well as on the wards.
With the intensified, robust distribution of essential medical supplies in health facilities by ZAMSA, the language of lack of medicine in hospitals will soon be forgotten. Pethiasi Mutale for ZANIS News in Mbala, Northern Province.
In health news, Chipata Central Hospital gynecologist Chota Piri has revealed that last year 56 women tested positive to cervical cancer. Dr. Piri has since called on women to always visit health facilities to get screened for early detection of the disease. And a 27-year-old woman who was recently diagnosed with cervical cancer is optimistic that the disease will be cured because it was detected early. We take another break. Stay tuned.
How I Made It is a program that delves into the many success stories of different people from all walks of life. Watch How I Made It on ZANIS TV every Thursday at 18:30 hours on the Topstar channel, channel 6 DTT, and channel 458 DTH. Zambia Today is a program that keeps you informed on various government policies and programs. Join us every Tuesday at 18 hours on ZANIS TV, Topstar platform, channel 6 DTT, and 458 DTH. Don't miss. We
continue with the news, and one of the stories making headlines in our news, 55 550 vulnerable and orphaned school-going girls in Kalomo have been assisted with reusable sanitary pads by the Zambian Adulting Sustainable Health Organization, ZASHO. ZASHO Executive Director Litruda Chila says the assistance is to enable the girl children in the 10 selected schools in the district to focus on their education without the burden of worrying about their personal hygiene.
The Zambia Adolescent Sustainable Health Organization, ZASHO, has assisted 550 girls with reusable sanitary pads in Kalomo district of Southern Province. Organization Executive Director Litruda Chila made the handover of the pads to vulnerable and orphaned pupils drawn from 10 schools in the district.
Selected schools in Kalomo district. We have 5 schools in Kalomo Central Constituency and 5 schools in Dundumwezi constituency. So the beneficiaries for these donations are vulnerable girls and orphaned girls in those selected schools.
On behalf of the recipients, Pande Ambai thanked ZASHO for its gesture.
I would like to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to the Zambian Adulting Sustainable Health Organization, ZASHO, for their generous donation of reusable pads. These reusable pads we have received will greatly benefit us by allowing us to focus on our studies without the worry of hygiene issues.
Kalomo Member of Parliament Harry Kambon was also at hand to support the advancement of the girl child education.
It takes a village to grow a child, and that's why education should not be left to the teachers, the technocrats of education alone. And this is why today I would like to say thank you very much to the Executive Director for ZASHO for doing your part in helping the needy students.
It is at this event where the Southern Province Education Office called for the reintroduction of clubs in schools.
I want to retaliate Debs. Can we insist that the clubs in schools are promoted the way it used to be? Because the clubs will help our children to learn what is outside the classroom environment.
The girl child adolescents in schools face a lot of challenges in pursuing their education, and it is hoped that partnering with other organizations that can provide sexual reproductive health interventions can lessen the burden on the female learners. Reporting, Martin Mashekwa in Kalomo, ZANIS, Southern Province.
We continue with the news. The Zambia Revenue Authority, ZRA, has held a media training program on taxation in Chingola district on the Copperbelt province to help increase effective monitoring of Zambia's economic growth. The training aims to promote accountability and publicity of Zambia's economic recovery plan through the private and public media. Here's a report.
With the debt restructuring in place, Zambia's economic recovery plan is on course. However, in order to ensure that the country is on a positive economic trajectory, improved and well-monitored taxation for both the public and private sector is vital. In this regard, the Zambia Revenue Authority held a media training program on taxation in Chingola district on the Copperbelt province.
A notable taxpayer population is the bedrock for fostering voluntary tax compliance and ultimately optimize government revenues. Therefore, the media being the widest channel of reaching out to the business community and the general public, it is imperative that you as mass communicators are well informed and well vested with tax matters, so that you can disseminate accurate and well-packaged information.
There's a lot that is taking place on the Copperbelt, especially when it comes to tax evasion. And the Zambia Revenue Authority really wants to clamp down on all tax evaders, because this is revenue that is lost on behalf of the government and the people at large, so that there is the provision of different economic and social amenities that we all want as a citizen.
And the main stakeholders have stressed the importance of taxation of Zambia's minerals.
For the first time, we have a fiscal tax regime that is investor-friendly, and since this new government came into power, we have had stability. And because of that stability, there's a lot of confidence in Zambia by investors from overseas.
The development has excited local journalists and media practitioners.
This workshop is very important for us journalists because people rely on us for information, especially in this period where Zambia attained its debt restructuring. People are really relying on us for information and reporting on issues to do with tax. People are going to be updated, and through our information, it will be easy for them to hold government accountable with the information that we are giving them. So,
Ian Chomba reporting for ZANIS News in Chingola district.
Government has handed over 1-by-3 classroom blocks at Kadzo and Sipalo primary schools in Kahema district. These are the first ever permanent structures to be built, as previously pupils were learning in grass-thatched structures. Secretaries both in public and private sector have been urged to register with the Zambia Institute of Secretaries. Institute's second Vice President Josephine Mupeta says it is now law for all the secretaries to be paid up members, without which they will not be allowed to practice their profession. Here's a report.
Secretaries in Wapla province have celebrated their day, which falls on the last Saturday of April. This year's celebration was graced by Wapla Province Deputy Permanent Secretary Prudence Chinama, who called on secretaries to uphold professionalism at all times.
I wish to urge you that even as you strive to work hard, professionalism and integrity should not elude you. It is also important that you continue exhibiting professionalism in the execution of your duties. Your employers are therefore urged to recognize and appreciate your efforts as you carry out your day-to-day work.
And Zambia Institute of Secretaries' second Vice President, Josephine Mpeta, indicates that all secretaries are required by law to be a paid-up member of the institute.
It is now mandatory. I repeat that. It is now mandatory for every secretary from either the private or public sector to belong to the Zambia Institute of Secretaries.
The role of a secretary arose out of the natural need for a prominent person to have a person to whom confidential matters could be entrusted and who could act as an assistant for a principal. They had a broad generalized education.
Kenneth Chomba, reporting for ZANIS News in Samfya District.
And lastly, in our news, family and friends today gathered at the Anglican Cathedral of the Holy Cross to celebrate the life of iconic football commentator Dennis Liwewe. Take a look.
It has been 10 years since Zambia lost a spectacular football commentator who will always be regarded as the best of all times. From as early as the 1960s, Dennis Liwewe was a household name whose voice became synonymous with passion, excitement, and heartbreak that defined football. In memory of the iconic football commentator, a 10th Thanksgiving service was held at the Anglican Cathedral of the Holy Cross in Lusaka.
So many happy and sad moments go fleeting through my mind about the times we shared together. You taught and guided me not to give up hope in my most trying times.
Our wish not to disappoint him was our greatest motivation to get good grades. A change in the tone of his voice was enough to shake us up when our standards dropped.
The football fraternity remembers Liwewe as an exemplary commentator who was passionate about the game of football.
Dennis was a household name in as far as football is concerned. Because from the time we started broadcasting way back in 1961 or so, beaming his voice into miners' houses of the government and bringing the game to us through the years, he was an ever-present individual.
Meanwhile, The church remembered Canon Liwewe as a committed member of the Cathedral of the Holy Cross who was fully involved in ministry and church activities.
He was not just a Sunday Christian. Canon Liwewe was a lay preacher. There are many times that he stood on the pulpit and preached the word of God to the congregation, and he did that very well. And sometimes he got carried away and forgot that he was in church and not in the commentary box.
And somebody be a sports personality and a Christian at the same time. Canon Dennis Liwewe proved to us that you can be both, that you can be both Christ-like in what you do with the gift that Christ has given you.
Liwewe died on April 22, 2014 at the age of 78. Vupe Sende for ZANIS in Lusaka.
Thank you, Vupe, for that report. And that item brings us to the end of the news. But before we go, a reminder of the top stories. Preparations for Kenneth Kaunda centenary celebrations advance. Northern Province Permanent Secretary Bernard Mpundu has instructed district commissioners to secure maize grain. 550 Kalomo girls receive sanitary towels. And secretaries celebrate their day. You can access these and many other stories on our website, zanis.gov.zm. On behalf of my sign language interpreter, Neham Mumbi, my name is Amos Zulu. Bye for now.